Happy Monday. How's everybody doing? Good morning. The Chopper, Kathy, and Mike, the Warriors. How are you?
Good. I'm in Punta Cana today for a wedding.
Lovely. Well, enjoy. We'll try to make this one pretty valuable. So today I wanted to talk about, you know, uh, kind of auditing expenses and the use of our time. And the first thing I want to talk about is my own um, observation, which is a lot of times I'm guilty of just month over month, year over year, without being on my calendar, and even worse than that is looking at expenses that just creep up and roll over, and might not be the value if we're looking at investing with them today. So, that's the topic. And I know we're probably getting around that time with those statements, but I know I just sent my numbers over to the CPA, and I saw that there's some expenses that probably shouldn't be there, and maybe even some personnel that can be realigned. So I don't know, do any of you look at that, especially now around tax time?
I just sent my stuff over as well to my CPA, so there's definitely some numbers that have to be readjusted.
Gotcha. And like, what are one or two things that you think that then you might be able to cut out of your personal time budget as opposed to your financial budget?
Actually learning that sometimes that's more valuable, right? I mean, I was starting to go on absolutely every appointment, show up at every open house. I want to support everybody, but I think now I've learned that once they've got their footing, I can move on to the next thing.
And then, and those are kind of, I'll call those are like flexible things, because maybe one week there's 3 appointments or 4 from the team, and maybe other weeks there might only be 1. How about things that you do regularly each month? Do you have are you very structured, or are you very dynamic in the way that you manage your week?
I think I'm both. I think there's certain things that I keep structured, and then other things that I just go with the flow.
Now,
I
for example,
I do like team.
Right?
I'm sorry.
How often do you do your team meeting?
Every Monday at 10:30, and then every 2 weeks I meet with everybody one-on-one.
And do you have a cadence, or does the team meeting roll
I'm sorry,
over
you're cutting out on me. Say that again.
Okay. Do your team meetings, are they a continuation? You start working on something today, and then next week you pick up on that, or do you hit random activities, events?
So we usually start by following up on whatever we covered the week before. We usually have a month-long something, even if it's a personal goal for each team member and not business. And then we introduce new things by the end of the meeting that we'll follow up on next week.
Okay. How confident are you that your team's communication skills are where you want them to be?
All but one, I'd say I'm really confident.
And how about their real estate skills? What I mean by that,
I know what you mean. Yeah, all but one, I'm confident.
and how about their technology skills to be able to aggregate data?
I think we all need to work on that on our team.
Okay. Because I would say that probably the least concerning to me is the real estate knowledge, because I think a lot of our team members are really and our associates are really very knowledgeable about what's going on in the market. But it goes back to that keeping current matter, saying that most agents know what's going on. The better agents understand it, and the best agents can explain or teach it. And I think if you have that in your mind, when you look at your team members and you say, hey, they either understand it or know it, that's almost the worst spot to be, because if you can't explain it, why even bother knowing it, right? Because the consumers aren't going to follow you without the ability to eloquently explain what's happening in the market today. And I think that's one of the biggest opportunities that we have as team leaders, is to elevate the communication skills of our team members, how they share what they know or what they should be knowing to the consumers to get them to take the right action. And we all have integrity, and then we have these skills to have the conversation. Our job will be 3 times easier, right? Because how much time do we spend either trying to educate or trying to get the consumers to take the right action? It's a lot, right? And there's a lot of breakage. There's a lot of failure in those components. So, for example, like last week's mastermind about getting buyers to take action and educating them on where the market is. There's a few layers to that. First layer is, we need to be able to ask the right questions so that, buyers aren't all over the place. Because how many times early on in our careers did you guys go running around, hey, I want to be in, I want to be in I want to be in Weston, or I want to be in Delray, or I want to be in Jupiter. Like those are like massively different areas, right? And if you had consumers that have that much confusion, or their motivation is clouded, we should stop and we should ask better questions so we can figure out where they really belong. Otherwise, we're going to be confusing them, and we're going to be setting them up for the next agent to make the sale. That makes any sense.
Yeah.
Right. And I think on the listing side, if you want to list it at your price, the right price, then kudos to you. And if not, try to teach them the 3 strategy approach, because it does a couple of things. Number one, they don't make the ridiculous decision. And when they make the decision, all 3 of the decisions lead to working with us. So for team members who often lack, the closing skills, I think that's a really excellent way of training them on something that's simple. And then as team leaders, we also have, beyond the timing of what we do, we have to look at where's the finance. Like, are we spending money on products or programs or coaches or software or marketing? And we need to kind of have like a zero baseline for that, to make sure everything, supports itself every year, not something that's like, oh yeah, well, that's, building my brand, but there's no tangible result. And at some point, you have to be able to measure whether something's taking you in that right direction, and not just, spend it again this year without having any evidence or proof that it's taking you where you want it to go. So those are just a few of my thoughts. And some of the things I'm going to be doing is repurposing some of the activities that my virtual staff does, trying to realign some of the personnel in the branches so that they can be more forward facing to you and your team members, to help you better execute, and providing a little bit more training without it being all burdensome on you as the team leader, because there's a lot of training that can be done, in my opinion, that would be good for all the team members, especially for newer. So I don't know if there's anything that strikes any of the call about, things that we should be we could be doing to, evaluate our time budget and our financial budget, kind of do a little audit. Mr. Gopi, do you have anything that, that you can be doing differently?
Well, now being my second year of a team leader, last year was my real learning curve. So this year I kind of, with time management and utilize my time efficiently, we actually, there's nothing I would really change. Right now we utilize our calendar, and the only thing I would change personally, that from my expenses, I go to Starbucks every single morning, maybe make coffee at home. I go to Starbucks 2 times a day. So maybe I could cut that out as an expense and make coffee at home or in the office. But other than that, I mean, I think our team is going to have tremendous profitability this year because of
So,
went through that. Yeah, tell me.
so I have a different thought, from your team because, and you can correct me if you think I'm off base here, but it seems like a lot of your team members are, well, at least two or three of them are on the verge of, hey, I feel like they're going to just turn the corner. I feel like tomorrow is going to be their day. Next month's going to be their moment. Do you feel that way?
Yeah. My whole team's going to be full time very soon. And you know why?
Okay.
Because
So here's the takeaway today, Mike, is make it a deadline and have that deadline have teeth on it. So in other words, if somebody hasn't done a transaction in 3 months, hasn't put anything under contract, you give them 60 days to put something solidly under contract or seriously consider breaking up with them, right? Because you're not doing them any service by giving them leniency. Okay.
perfect.
I saw that with, one of our team leaders who's not on the call today had a team member who was kind of, on the back end of his career. Never was a massive producer, was always a $2 to $5 million producer, steadily tailing down, right? Implemented a minimum standard. And as soon as he said you need to do one closed transaction per quarter, that became, two per quarter. And well, the team leader just popped on. So I don't know, Glenn, you know who I'm talking about without mentioning names, where you put the standard in. Is he still hanging in there or uh, thriving?
Always puts the pedal to the metal once I threaten that.
Now, what I was sharing with the other team leaders, Glenn, is that, it may seem to be leniency may seem to be the right thing, but I think in your member's case, it was absolutely the wrong thing. And he needed an ultimatum that, hey, this is not how we do things here on this team. And then somehow he figured out a way, and I still don't think he super hustles. Do you?
No.
But he gets the job done is the point. And if you were lenient, like if you didn't push him, I think he would be doing 4 to 6 deals a year. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, on our last accountability call, I literally started the call saying, "You're a proud man. You can't possibly like being at the bottom of the list every week."
Right. But and that's not mean. That's like trying to it's not, hey, you're not as good as this person. And I know you believe that he could do so much better. That's why you say it like that, correct?
Yeah, 100% you can. Yeah.
So when we're auditing, our activities, it's not just the checks we write, the credit cards we charge, the time that we spend, but it's also the things that we do in the time that we spend, right? Because I know, and I know Michael, I'm saying this to you with love, that some of your team members have been in that situation for at least 6 months, right? Did I lose you? But anyway,
Yeah, repeat that,
You
Rob.
know,
The
that's
last.
so I said, you know, I've been feeling the same emotions about certain team members that you have for probably 6 months, maybe even a little bit more, that they're on the verge, they're on the cusp, but they never turn the corner. And, you know, I know that you probably even do some of the work for them at times because you care, but I don't know if that's the that's the strategy that's going to get them where they need to be. And I'm just putting a comment out there for you to think about.
No, I agree.
And it's not just for your team. It's not just for your team members, but it's something that they board, right? Oh, that their kid is sick. Their mom got into a car accident. I mean, you can write a book with excuses. And then there are other people that, they have the same issues, and sometimes we don't know about them because, they don't use them to deflect from accountability. And maybe sometimes it's not because the way they're programmed. Okay. I guess that thing behind you, Glenn, nobody cares, work harder. To some extent, I mean, like we're all caring people, but having them tell you the story just evaporates more of both of your time and doesn't get any closer to being where you're going to be. And at some point, Chopper will tell you this. What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over.
And expecting a different outcome, right?
Rob, you actually made me think of something because you started this conversation with expenses, right?
Yeah.
Actually, doing the most of the work is taking away from my time and actually costing me money because I could be on the field finding new clients. So you're actually right, absolutely right. I am gonna sit with some of these team members to see their goals. But let me ask you this: you give full. If I wanted to let a team member go, you support your team members just to let them go if they don't align with our team.
So, Chopper, have you had these conversations about letting low producers go that you might want to share? I don't know, Chopper, if you can hear me. Chopper.
Chopper, you're
And I know,
muted.
yeah, you're muted. So I know, Lynn, you had a couple of these, right?
Hmm.
How do you
Where I
how do
let
you go
someone
about it?
go. Yes.
Yeah, how do you go about doing that? Because you're so polite, professional. How do you have that conversation with somebody?
I actually went into the last one was the gentleman that I had leave the team or I asked to leave the team. I went into it with a different attitude. I went into it with a last ditch effort of letting him give me good reasons of why he should be on the team and what he thought he could do moving forward. And it was so negative that honestly, about halfway through the conversation, I just said, I don't feel like we're a good fit. And I'm glad you gave it a shot and I wish you the best on your own. But our team has a different style and you're just not fitting well.
Okay. And how about Chopper? Are you able to unmute yourself? Because I think you've had this with a couple of your team members. It's like they're struggling with the mute. But all right, forget about it. So I'm going to go back to the master of love and accountability. Glenn, how does that conversation go to you and your team members?
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning part. We lost power, so I apologize.
So I said, how do you have that conversation if you're to the point where you might have to break up because of lack of results or lack of accountable efforts?
Yeah, I've only had to do it once on the team, and hold on one second. Hold on one second.
And Glenn, you
Okay.
have somebody who will remain nameless that maybe has a bit of a challenging attitude and doesn't fit your culture. And you're like, I just don't think that long term that person might be a fit.
Yeah, they'll end up working their way out. I don't think I have to work them out is the way that I look at it.
Okay.
All right, I unmuted. I found my button.
All right. Sounds good. So Chopper, you've escorted a few people off the team. I know one that that used to work for me.
Yes.
You wanted to share with the group, how that went down, and
Yeah. Fire Paul.
did you have any remorse?
No remorse. The remorse was that I lost too much sleep over it. And Patrick and I have a new rule. If we have to lose any sleep on anybody, they go. But in this particular case, we extended the olive branch. I went and visited with him one-on-one. He needed help outside the industry. We encouraged him on that. We got him extra coaching, did a lot of babysitting. And then finally, when I wanted to sit down with him, he just quit. So I guess it worked out. It was a blessing. I mean, he handled it very immaturely, but it's okay.
I don't think you were surprised by that, though. Either was I. Um,
And he did us all a favor.
right. So now you have that time back, and I don't know, was he paying his own like monthly obligation, or were you
No,
contributing or paying?
no, I pay for everybody.
So and do you pay for all? You don't have to answer, but do you pay for all your team members if you're comfortable telling the group?
No, I pay for all the team members their desk fees and monthly vig. They just pay their MLS, their Supra, um, their board, and their annual vig to Remax.
Okay. And Lynn, your team members, for the most part, pay their own or no?
My team,
Yeah,
I pay.
you pay.
I pay their
Okay.
monthlies. They pay everything. Same as Chopper.
So maybe moving the monthly expense to their side, um, for those who aren't good investments of your time and money. And I would say it's probably, more about your time, Lynn, than your money, right? Because if you're spending an hour, every other week, and you're giving them access to your team meetings, that's worth a lot more than their monthly fee, right?
Sure is.
And if you're going on listing appointments or buyer appointments with them.
For sure.
So anyway, I would just encourage, is there anybody that found anything, now that you're probably compiling your data for taxes, that you're like, hey, maybe I shouldn't be investing as much?
I say that every year.
Was there a couple of things that you identified, or no?
No, a lot of my stuff is institutional. I did cut back on some frequency. Instead of doing like a monthly EDDM, I'm doing it more quarterly.
Okay.
We move some of our money from one platform to another. Save some
Okay.
money, and then we upped another one. So
So I think one of the things that's dangerous, Chopper, at least for me, is when you put stuff on auto pay and it comes out of your account without even looking. That's a dangerous thing, because you years gone by, when you would make that payment, although it was annoying, you'd write the check and send it out. That's how old I am. You would say, why am I paying for this? But now it's like, oh, you glance at the statement, oh, that's been on my statement every month, so I don't even pay any attention to it, right? Or now it even becomes more confusing, because all these Zillow products like Dot Loop and the leads and other things that we buy from Zillow all show up as Zillow. I don't even know what the F it is. I'm just like, oh, it's Zillow. Like, I don't have time to look at it. I'll look at it next month, and I'll look at it next month, and I'll look at it next month. Before you know it, 6 months goes by. Maybe I'm the only one that's guilty of that, but I'm like, I do that frequently. I'm like, yeah, I don't have time today. I'm driving down to Virginia Beach. I just got notification of this charge. I'll look at it next month, but I never do. So,
I think we're all guilty.
so maybe that's something that maybe quarterly you, instead of annually, you review all your expenses and see what, what you should invest more in, what you should eliminate, and what's just fine the way it is. All right. Um, we've got a quiet group here today.
But I got a question. I got a question for the teams. How much percent of their team members are full time compared to part time? To the rest of the teams, I'm just because as I'm growing my team, I'm just looking for a lot of full time agents. But 7 out of my team members, half is part time. So I kind of want to hear from the other team members. Do they have part time agents on their team, or what is their mix?
Mine's 50-50.
Scott, you're all full time, right, Kaplan?
What was that, Rob? Just signed on.
I said all your team members are full time, right?
No, unfortunately, 2 of my team members are like 70% real estate. They still have second jobs, bartending.
Okay. I did not know that. And Chopper, do you have any part-time ones?
No longer. We just parted ways with our last part timer. We're all full time now.
And Lynn, you said you had some part-timers, right?
I'm 50-50.
50-50.
Yeah, but I have one that cut way back on the second job and is looking to be done by June.
And Mr. Golden, I know we sunsetted a few at the end of the year. What percentage of yours are part-time in your opinion? Either because they have another job or they don't work full-time.
We have one agent that was a full-time agent, and he had to get a job for insurance reasons. He's got 5 kids, so he moved to part-time, but he's still producing.
Okay. And then out of the office, how many would you say are part-time now? Many or not many?
Well, my honest answer is that there are, we don't have any part-time agents, but I would like their production to be full-time production.
Right. How about full-time effort? Because I suspect that when you don't see them, that there's probably not full-time effort either, right?
Well, I'm going to respectfully disagree on that one because I do speak to them quite a bit. So even if they're not coming into the office, I check in with them. And, I know that we have a couple on the P2P course right now. Mark is on the phones every day. He is putting in a tremendous effort into this program. Marge has we have people with some personal problems that are legit. They have to just focus on family right now. Life is getting in the way, but it's not due to the lack of effort.
Okay. All right, that's fair. I think we've hit our 9 o'clock hour. If anybody has to drop off, but for one, Bobby, if I could, help try to find a way to get them to be, half as good as Mark in terms of effort and whatnot, count me in because, I know you have a lot of great people that you've known for years. I just want them to see them be more successful, and it's disappointing if they're putting the time in, and whoever can't get them over that edge.
Well, I plan on seeing you on Thursday, so maybe we could talk about it then.
I look forward to it.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Well, have a great week. If you missed the Friday mastermind, maybe just listen to it while you're working out or driving, and then try to make sure your team members, buy into that, because I think it makes the buying process that much simpler and maybe takes a little bit of the lift off of what you need to do. All right. And if they need any support behind it, I'm always available to help.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Have
you,
a
Rob.
good week, everybody.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.